You do not know the glee and joy that filled my body when I looked on Twitter this morning and saw that Skyward Sword might potentially be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, I want to preface this before we go into discussing the possibility and my hopes and everything for this. It's a leak. Take it with the biggest grain of salt you can possibly find. It has not been confirmed. Nintendo has not said anything. The only thing we have to go by is this Amazon link that Wario64 on Twitter, as far as I know, he was the one who kind of he was the original poster or finder of this. I don't know for sure, but to my understanding, that's correct. The Amazon link is still up as of the recording of this video, so it's there for you to see and for you to pry your very intelligent fingers into and to learn things about that I do not have the intellectual capability to do so. But yeah, I am very, very excited of the prospect of this. I think a Skyward Sword remake for the Switch is, well, obviously, I'm going to like that because I'm a Zelda fan, but I think it is a great choice in a game to do so because Skyward Sword fundamentally is an outstanding game. It is argued that it is the worst 3D Zelda, and I do fall into that camp, but I personally believe that there's as much good in Skyward Sword as there is bad, and it's still a really fantastic game, and it gets a lot more flack than it really deserves. And I'll get into that in a second, but I kind of want to just go over a little bit of the timeline here on a Skyward Sword remake, because this isn't the first time that we've heard some stirrings of a Skyward Sword remake or port. So back in late 2018, I think, it's not been 2 years as far as I know. It's been within the last couple years. My dates might be all over the place, but I think late 2018, AJ Aonuma was at a Zelda Symphony concert, or some Zelda concert, and he teased something Skyward Sword related, and that kind of just sent the internet into pure chaos and turmoil, and everybody started, spreading the rumor that Skyward Sword was going to be coming to the Switch. And later on, after that, a Nintendo spokesperson had to come out and, clarify and say, hey, no, Skyward Sword remake for the Switch, not happening, not coming anytime soon. It's not something we're currently working on. And so last year, after a brief period of about 6 or 7 months when nobody asked anything about this, it seems like, somebody posed the question to Aonuma around E3 last year, because, don't know if you know this, Breath of the Wild 2 was announced, and there was a lot of Zelda discussion going on last June. But Aonuma was posed the question of a Skyward Sword remake without motion controls, and he, quote, said it would be next to impossible, which is a huge, huge key factor in the point that I'm going to be making here. I don't think we are ever going to see a Skyward Sword remake without motion controls. I definitely don't think this leak, the current leak that we're looking at now for Skyward Sword, would have no motion controls. Because, and I don't want to pretend to know anything about game development, but I don't think you're going to be able to completely rework the whole mechanics of the gameplay in Skyward Sword in less than 2 years during a global pandemic. It just doesn't. Maybe I'm ignorant on that fact, and maybe it's possible. I don't know. I'm just going off an assumption that it's harder than I think most people seem to take it as. But yeah, I don't think that's what this is going to be. This new Skyward Sword is going to have motion controls for sure, because it's a lot easier for them to give this game a facelift and a fresh coat of paint, pop that bad boy in full HD high resolution right onto the Switch and into our grimy little grease-covered fingers, so that we can swing our Joy-Cons with HD rumble and really get a good, solid, motion-controlled Zelda in our hands. I think it is highly likely that that would be the case if this is real. If this leak, rumor, whatever you want to call it, is to be confirmed real, I think that this is going to be the Skyward Sword experience to have. it makes no sense to just completely move the whole Skyward Sword experience over, because as we've seen in past Zelda remakes, what they like to do is they like to go in and they like to polish it up. They like to fine tune it. They like to trim the fat off the edges, and they like to really make it a much more enjoyable experience for the player. So I think what would happen is they're going to go in, fine tune this thing, make the pacing a lot better. For me personally, I would love if they would cut out like at least one of the imprisoning fights. God, that would be just bliss. But there's a lot of tedium and repetition in Skyward Sword specifically, and if you really dial that back a bit, I think it plays out a whole lot better, just in terms of the type of game that it is. It just makes it a more solid product. Yeah, this is really exciting. I really hope that this is true, because it makes a lot of sense on a timeline perspective as well, because next year is the 10th anniversary of Skyward Sword, which makes me feel all kinds of old, and the 35th anniversary of Zelda just in general. So, whether or not it comes out this year, that's, who knows. But it makes a lot of sense, hey, maybe an early, first or second quarter Zelda game. Because maybe development on Breath of the Wild 2 is kind of running a little bit long in the tooth, and they're having to do a bit more than we think that they're having to do. So, hey, we need something to hold people over. Have a remake. We've seen them do that in the past. That's kind of like what happened with Twilight Princess and stuff like that. So, it wouldn't be out of the question, I think, to see Skyward Sword facelifted up, full HD remake, polished to hell and back on the Nintendo Switch to hold people over while Breath of the Wild 2 development is ongoing. I personally really want this to be true. I have not played Skyward Sword in 8 years, I think. It's been a long time. And I was recently talking with my good friend Nehru, one of the Shiko Squad boys. We were talking about, we were just talking about Skyward Sword and how much we liked it and how much we really liked Zelda from Skyward Sword, because it's such a good story and the characters are really fleshed out and they had purpose in that game. And it would just, I really want people to play Skyward Sword. I want the Zelda fans that are new to the series who just got into it with Breath of the Wild, I really want them to enjoy what is fundamentally a core Zelda experience, albeit the most linear one out there, but that is a textbook definition of a Zelda game. So I think having Skyward Sword out there, letting people experience the motion controls, letting people experience the great music, the great dungeons in that game is nothing short of an obvious fucking win for Nintendo. I really want this to be true. Like I said before, it's a leak. Take it with the biggest gargantuan size grain of salt you can find. Still very exciting. Let me know what you guys think. I really, really loved all the just the love for Skyward Sword that I saw on Twitter today. So like, if we can just keep that going in the comments, bro, that would make me so happy, because that game is so good. It's good. It's the worst 3D Zelda, but that still means it's better than 90% other games out there. Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Subscribe if you would like to see more Zelda content from me, or content just in general. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you disliked it. Please tell me why you disliked it. That way I can hope to improve my content. Share the video with a friend. Follow me on my socials. All the links will be down in the description below. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.